Welcome to Rooted in God's Love, the masterclass series for Christian women who desire to feel the Father's unconditional love, get grounded in their true identity in Him, and courageously pursue their God-given purpose. I'm your host, ALANA Palm, and I use biblical principles and cognitive behavioral therapy to help women do those things, to be rooted in their identity in Christ, and to love who God created them to be, and wake up joyful every day pursuing their kingdom purpose. And today I am so excited to introduce you to Jennifer Baker. Jennifer is a 3-time best-selling author. Her first book was with Jack Canfield, founder of Success GPS programs and president of Performance and Engagement Consulting. Jennifer has been selected as one of America's premier experts, internationally recognized as one of the top 100 most influential people from Influence magazine, Fox, MSNBC, America Matters, The Best You International, and featured on the cover of The Good Life magazine with her 2 children, who are already walking their path as the next generation of incredible leaders. So amazing. Jennifer is one of the most sought after speakers and trainers for leadership programs and business growth. And we are so blessed to have her here with us today. Welcome, Jennifer. I'm so honored to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, ALANA. This has been such a treat getting to know you over the past since I've met you online. And then watching you and your shows and your lives have just been inspirational and amazing. So thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this.
Oh, thank you. And hello, puppy.
I am so sorry. You are going to get it live. We are, of course, doing these events in our homes and in our home studios. And apparently,
that's right. Real life, we all know it, right? We've all gone through the COVID with having kids at home as we're working and all of that. So yeah, I think people totally understand. So I know today we're going to talk about this amazing topic about knowing versus doing. And I want to know, Jennifer, and I'm sure everyone wants to know, before you tell us a little bit about that, can you tell us a little bit about your story and what brought you to the point of doing the work you do now?
Oh, that was part of the beginning of our conversations. As a little girl, I started out not understanding that there was something calling me to pay attention, and that ended up being our Lord. So I'm so beyond blessed that He didn't give up on a little girl who was just lost out there in the world. And I'm sure He has a hand in everything I do, every moment of my life, and hopefully everybody else feels the same thing. But as a child that didn't understand what that feeling was and didn't know how to deal with it, we passed a church in the car and I looked over and went, what is that building? And my parents said, that's a church. And I said, I'd like to go there. And they laughed and said, have at it. And so a few weeks later, I ended up walking myself down there by myself to church on a Sunday. I figured it out. It took me a couple of times to get there at the right time. And after that, they just welcomed me. And, you think about that today in this day and age. And I would never allow my kids to walk 5 blocks down the street in a town to go to church on their own on a Sunday morning. And so you think about how crazy that is. But back in our day, that wasn't so difficult. It wasn't that strange. I mean, it was strange, but not that strange. Mm-hmm. And I think my whole life has kind of been that way. I felt a pull, and I just started learning to listen to that pull, feel it, and go in the direction of the pull versus me being a really strong businesswoman, a really strong community advocate, a really strong, all that strong stuff that we are as women. I think learning to lean in and to follow that energetic pull that He's trying to guide us on so gently, because He also taught me that when you're bent on doing it against His will, He has a 2x4 waiting or something worse on a regular basis in my life. I don't know about everyone else, but it started with just that simple little pull that made me think, what is that? I want to know what that is. I need to know whatever it is because I want it in my life. And my whole life has been based off of different series of what is that? I feel it. I need to know what it is. And I need to follow it, whatever that is. And I've been blessed with that. So that's how it started. I know that's very generic, and I don't know how many people that'll resonate with, but I will tell you, there's a feeling. We all get that feeling. And if you'll just stop trying to drive and trying to be the one leading in the dance, he can show you the most amazing moves and dance moves that you'll ever imagine. And that's what I try to share now with everyone on a private level.
I love that. It makes me think a little bit of Jesus takes the wheel. You know,
Yes.
we want to be in the driver's seat, and if we just let him take the wheel, it's amazing what he can do. But we all want to, a lot of times we white knuckle it, right? We're holding on to the wheel and we're just holding on for dear life. And it's like, he wants to release us of that, but we don't want to release the control, right?
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but you just said something so profound for me. One of the songs that resonated with me, there was two, Reba McEntire, and then the other was the Jesus Take the Wheel song. When I was going through some incredibly crazy times during my life, both of those songs kept popping up in my head and in the music. So I was actually listening to the radio regularly at that time, and they both kept showing up for me. And every time I would just cry because I'd say, I wish I could let go. I wish I could just feel that feeling. And then at some point, because I kept thinking about it and how do I do that, I actually made it so, which was really nice, but not before Jesus almost took my life. So it was one of those moments where you start realizing there is that peace. You know, that song was very powerful for me because she was talking about being in an accident and saying, Jesus, take the wheel. And I kept saying, what is that? What is that? And then it came to be that I was in a position similar to hers, in a whole different position, but I was in the hospital room on the operating table and I said it and I went, whoa, there it is. So you should always be careful what you think about because you will bring it about.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit then about, you know, the whole concept of knowing versus doing. And I'd love for you to unpack that, because I know for me, I teach a lot about being, right? Like we get to be the fruit of the spirit. We get to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Like, who are we being in every moment? And I tend to steer people away from this idea around doing, yet doing is so important. And I know it comes naturally from being in that space of being tuned into Jesus and, you know, tied in, you know, he's the vine and we're the branch, and we be from there and then we do. But this whole idea around knowing something and actually putting it into action, and maybe even mixed into that somewhere, this place of being, maybe you can unpack that a little bit for us.
Well, your message of being is deep and profound in so many ways, because that's the one thing, you know, all my human behavior studies, all of my personal development work that I do in all these other non-spiritual, non-religious worlds, they talk about, you know, when you're so wrapped up in the next step, or when you get to this step, you'll be blank. It causes anxiety and it causes problems and it causes frustrations and it causes stress. And when you're too busy looking behind you, it causes depression and it causes anxiety and it causes stress. And, you know, we'll stick with the same joke of the driving concept. There's a reason that we have a little tiny mirror above us that shows in the rear view mirror, and a great big window in front of us. And it allows us to be in the space of the car, see where we need to go, be able to be aware of what's back there, but really just be present in the car and doing what we need to do, which is, you know, in the vehicle, which is us as well. So it's profound for me, and it's a nice reminder. So I love to plug in and listen to you. With that, there's a lot of us that need to, and I'm going like this first, there's a lot of us that as doers in life, that we go be, do, and we're active and we're actively thinking and trying to create and plan. If you're a mom, you've got, you know, all meals planned out for the next week, and you've got all these different things going on, and you're juggling life, you're doing, and you know what's right, and you think you're doing what's right, and you continue to do. There's that place of being at the same time that helps you do better. So we go to church and we hear the messages and we and we have that already almost listening concept where you're listening, but you're listening to agree to it and say, yeah, look how right I am. I'm following. And then there's that piece of hearing it, feeling it, being it, standing in the place of, and then applying it to your life in a different level. Each time you go and you hear a message, I learned many years ago, I learned to listen to the message at a deeper level. Just because you've heard that message 4, 5, 10, 100 times. Don't say, I got it. Look how smart I am. Stop and ask yourself to be and feel and think about at a deeper level of why are you hearing it again? If it's being repeated, there's a reason you're supposed to be hearing it at that moment, which means there's some piece of it you need to really hear again, and you need to do what you're hearing. So there's an applicable knowledge. So there's knowing, there's being in that space, and there's doing, but it's all attached. So I wrap it around your message, but there's the knowing and versus the doing. We all do every day thinking we're doing the right thing, but we don't stop to be consciously aware of the knowing in what we do and the doing in what we know. And there's a conflict in our lives on a regular basis to make sure that you apply both equally. And I think that's a piece that is sadly missing in our culture right now. We get so wrapped up in doing something that somebody's got us thinking about and jump into action, and the judgments and the stress and the anger and the frustration is because somebody got us riled up to do. But if we stay in our place of knowing, then we do what we know, and we know what we do. And that's very different than where we are in the world today.
So kind of what I'm hearing you say, I think, is that knowing and being are kind of similar in some ways, because we know it and it's almost like ingesting it at such a deep level of knowing that it becomes part of who we are. Is that correct?
Yes. So there's the yeah, I know. But what I'm talking about is the true knowing, the true conscious and subconscious knowing. That means that we're being, and we're doing, being, and knowing is all, it's interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. It's the same thing if you're doing it right.
Yeah,
According to you, I'm not sure, but
no, I love that. And what was coming up for me is it's like, it really explains well, this whole idea about being rooted in God, right? Because when we're deeply rooted in him and we have a deep knowing of who he is, his character, his promises, his word, and then we can apply that to who we are, like take that in, and it becomes who we are. And out of that comes what we do.
Exactly.
The spirit, the actions that come out of that, right? And so that's what came up for me when you were talking.
Yeah. And we can bring it to a simple level of, as we sit in church and we hear our messages, I sit with the Bible up on top of a mountain. It's what I do best. So when we're sitting there and we feel, we know, we've learned all over again, and we're in a place of being, do you walk out the door and get in your car and go back to doing something different? Or are you going to do what you know and stay where you are and where you're being right there? Are you going to stay solid in that, or are you going to revert back so easily? It's staying the course. It's staying on track with what you know, how you need to be, and doing all of what you know and where you are.
So how would somebody who's listening to this right now and they're thinking, okay, I love all of this, but how do I actually apply this to my life?
I have some good tips on that. If you don't mind, I have my little notes in front of me, because I'm one of those, I'll get off on a tangent with you because I really love your work. But, there's a couple things that I do, and I'll share just a few of them that seem to resonate with me at the moment. But again, this is for the drivers, the really strong, headstrong moms out there, or Christians out there, that we get really, really powerful in something we're doing. The business professionals, the really active moms, just the ones that get caught up being busy at times, doing for other people. This message is for them. And that is, slow down, and about every hour and a half to 2 hours, especially in the beginning, slow down, set your alarm if you have to. I do all kinds of crazy antics to get me to stop and slow down. But one of them was to set an alarm, and on my phone, because I always have my phone attached to me, and I schedule my day with breaks in between so that I stop and I breathe. And I remind myself to do a physical body check of where am I? How am I feeling? What did I just do? What am I about to do? And it gives me that sense of where am I? Am I applying what I know? What am I really where I'm supposed to be in my energy so that I can affect the next call, meeting, whatever it is, next few minutes, whoever's in front of me next? Am I being where I know I need to be, and using my knowing to do what I know I need to do next? And it's really, if you put it into a spiritual term, if you're having a conversation with someone who's more spiritual, then you need to just understand that it's the place of being is just applicable knowledge of something that you know you should be doing correctly. You want to leave people in a good space. And the only way to do that is to give them your best. And that comes from the heart and from our soul, and not from a place of doing all the time where we're active and we're actively pursuing something or forcing something out there. You just really need to allow people the space of being where they need to be. So
yeah, because I think that leads into the striving, right? When we're doing, we get in task mode, we forget about relationships. We're just like, go, go, go. And eventually we burn out. And I love what you said about doing that check every hour or so, and even setting that alarm, right? And going, okay, like, am I applying what I know? What I know to be true about God, what I know to be true about the Bible? Am I in fear right now, or am I in a space of trust and faith? Because a lot of times we won't notice it until it catches up with us. And then all of a sudden we end up in tears, or we end up stressed, or we need to take a day off work because everything comes crashing down. But to do that self-check, I wonder if it would help people almost know when they need to take a break, know when it's time to go out for a walk, get into nature, go and do something that's healthy. Because if we're not in that space, so let's say somebody, they do that, they go, okay, doing my self-check and I'm not feeling right, something feels off, I'm not applying what I know. What would you say that they could do at that point?
Well, part of it is that 90 seconds of just breathing, get back in check. So it gets so much deeper than this, and I don't want to take up too much time on this, but for me, I always wanted, I burned myself out. So listen, ladies, here's how it works. Being a really strong, active business person in the world, I burned myself out. I almost died. I had several moments in my life where I've been told, okay, you need to really seriously stop. This might be your last moment. And it creates a feeling of, what did I do all this for? Why did I go almost kill myself for a company or for a cause or for a something? Why am I not surrounded by people that love me, and friends and people that genuinely don't want to be there for me? And the answer came back to me like a ton of bricks, ALANA. It was because I'm not showing up for myself. I was not taking care of myself. We have a vehicle that's here on earth to do work for our soul and for our hearts. We need to take care of this. And for many of us, if you have a calling, if you know that you're doing something, you really get on fire for doing it. And that little reminder, I treat it like I get to look over at my best friend and say, hey, how you doing? How are you? Are you taking care of yourself? So I started treating myself like my own best friend. I started listening to my own words of wisdom that I would have given any one of my friends had I have heard that they were treating themselves the way I was treating myself. So it comes back to going like this. I don't know if we can do this on camera or not, but one of the things I teach in a lot of my seminars is go like this. It's really easy to go like this and point out. Now,
is it the three fingers?
Turn and go like this. Do you feel that? Do you feel all it? Stretch your arms nice and far and make sure you're pointing, and then turn them inward. And you're going to feel how many of your muscles come back and how painful it is to look at yourself and go, what did you do to cause this moment? So it took me from being the martyr, the victim, the, oh my gosh, I'm in this moment mindset, in a snap of a finger, I went, whoa, I did this. I'm responsible for what kind of mess I just created, not just for me and my life as a, high paid executive and running and blowing and going and doing and achieving and blah, 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 that I thought was doing the right things. But really just knowing what I needed to know and standing where I needed to stand was in self-care first. Because if you are truly securing your own oxygen mask, then you're able to take care of those around you regularly. And then you don't get the burnout, and then you don't get the spiteful feelings, and then you're not resentful of your husband or your kids or your friends, and you're not jealous, and you're not worried about, because you once again said, hey, bestie, what do you need? What can I do to take care of you today? And you're really treating yourself in a better self-care way. So it starts first with remembering that Jesus would never want us to wear ourselves out. You would remember that he loves us, that we're, we're special and we're important, and we're loved. And we need to always stand in the place of knowing that we're loved, and that we are loving people. And we need to share that more often, not just with the outside, but what's in here. This needs to feel love at all times. And if this feels love, everything around us just changes. Everything around us changes. So that 90-second thing is beyond critical. The other thing that I do an annual 360. So I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but basically once a year, all of my friends, family, relationships, my children, everybody in my life gets a survey link. And I make them tell me all about me because they won't face me face to face most of the time and tell me what I've done. So I give them an open source every year to share with me how I'm doing, because they know my goals. They know my mission, vision, values in life. They know my goals. And the only way that I can achieve them is by having them hold me accountable. I also have several other mentors in my life that I give them the power. And believe me, it's not easy to do, but I give them the power to tell me anything they think I'm off track on. And that allows me to remember to take a look at myself once in a while and be humbled and be proud. So most of my mentors give me pats on the back, which is beautiful, but sometimes they'll give me a little bit of work to do, which is even more beautiful, right? We don't know unless somebody's willing to share that we need to grow. And so I do a lot of that. I just try to stay open, and I find people that have something that I love, and I ask them, so what did you have to do to get there? Because now I want you to hold me accountable to doing those things. And they laugh, but they play along. Honestly, it's playing along with a concept that I came up with, and it works. And I hope everybody can find that in their lives. Find a girlfriend that you're like, I wish I could dress like ALANA. Let's be honest. I see your outfits and I'm like, I wonder if I could figure that out for me. I'm one of those. Instead of being envious or jealous or feeling that I'm coming from a place of lack, I've secured my own oxygen mask. So now when I see something that appeals to me, that looks attractive to me, I want to go play in that space. It's fun for me. I want to go explore it and figure it out. I don't come from, oh, well, her eyes are gorgeous. And I wonder what lipstick she's wearing. And I wonder what scarf, where'd she get that? I just come from, wow, I want to go play in an outfit like that,
That's so amazing.
And it took me 20 years to get here, ALANA. It's not easy. But those are the things I did to make sure I could be a better person, to be in that space, to live that happy of a life, versus the condescending, critical, difficult person that could have been there if I would have come from a place of lack, because I felt like I wasn't valued enough, or I felt like somebody didn't treat me the way I wanted to be treated. I started remembering that this thing is responsible for all of it.
Mm-hmm. I love that too, because
it guides us, but when we ignore it, it ultimately, the problems start here.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying about responsibility, because I think what happens is a lot of us will go victim to circumstance or victim to life, which comes up as lack. I don't have that person did this to me, I don't have enough, right? So if you're coming from a place like you talked about, where I'm putting on my own oxygen mask. And when I think about putting on your oxygen mask, besides being on an airplane and all of that, how two things come up. First is the whole idea around you need to put yours on before you can help someone else, right? And also, it's almost like your oxygen mask is really your relationship with the Lord, right? And how deeply rooted you are in Him, because when you put that on, your identity and your worth are found in Him. So therefore, you're not looking to that other person thinking, they have something that I want that I don't have. I don't know what I could be with that thing, or what I am without that thing. And there's no question like that. It's like what you said, where you're firmly planted in who you are. You know who you are. You're responsible for who you are, but you look at it as a fun opportunity. Like, oh, I'm curious. I wonder what that would be like. That looks like fun. Maybe I'll try that on for a little bit. And the other thing that came up for me was, when you were doing the pointing the fingers, I always say, like, when you're pointing a finger at somebody, you're pointing 3 back at yourself. Like, that's my thing that I always,
Yeah.
because a lot of times we'll do that, right? We judge that person, or we say, well, how can that person do that or say that? But really, it's like the log and the speck, right?
Yes, but that's not as painful as those muscles up here. So you want them to extend really far and then do it. And then you feel that pull.
I know, I
It's
like that.
a good reminder.
I know, I love that, because like the physical, like the pain, like, okay, yeah, I should remember this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in pain, right?
No one makes a decision till the pain is great enough. So I just want them to feel a little pinch to remind them.
I love that. I love that. So I know, and everything you said is so powerful. So if you were to leave our audience with one last piece of advice or an actionable step or wisdom, what would that be?
I think I would, if there was one thing I could share, besides the self-care, I guess it all kind of comes hand in hand. You know, the word you, and I want to share this because it was something that stuck with me many years ago. The word you kept standing out. When I was young, everybody had these, I'm trying to remember what they call them, but ALAC. So I am lovable and capable is what I grew up with. They taught us that in schools, and it just kind of stuck with me. And so I always liked the I am lovable and capable. It made me believe I was lovable and capable in a place where I didn't feel lovable and capable. I had a little pin that told me so. And I always kind of looked for one that resonated with me. And over the years, something that bothered me was, it seems like the world is trying to pigeonhole everybody into a belief or a way of being or a way of looking or a way of acting or a way of, and I've always said, oh my gosh, we were born to be just us. Again, pointing it here. We were born to be me, you. So the word you always stuck out to me. And I figured out eventually that it's you plus outstanding and unique. You are uniquely and outstandingly you. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to please anybody else. Try to please you. You're that unique, outstanding human being because you were born. Literally, you were chosen to be born, which makes you an absolute miracle beyond miracles of all kinds. 1 in a million doesn't even come close. It's like 300 and something million opportunity of just being the egg that was fertilized to become the one. And no one realizes how amazing that is. And if you would just stop and put that oxygen mask on and remind yourself of who you are, be you, be the best you can be, and stop worrying about trying to be anything else. Because at the end of the day, your friend that's next to you that's judging someone else, or your boss that didn't like something that you did, or your husband or boyfriend or whoever it is that wants to tell you to be something different, they're not going to be there with you on Judgment Day. So you be the most outstanding and unique you that you can be. Stop trying to look like somebody else or feel like somebody else or do something else somebody else does. Just be you and be the best you can be, so that you please you. Because when you're pleasing you, you're pleasing God. And that's where we really need to stand in life. The competition is right here. The judgment is right here. The path is right here. It's all here. We were given everything we need in this life. Everything. All we have to do is enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Amen. What a good word. Yes, I love that. And I want to thank you so much for coming on today and just sharing your experience and your wisdom and insight. It's been amazing. And for those of you watching, make sure to catch the next masterclass on being deeply rooted in God's love. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. God bless.
Thank you for watching. If you connected with this content and it helped you in some way, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Also, check the description below for special gifts just for you. See you in the next video.